How are you?
Good, good. How you been?
I'm all right. I'm up and down, up and down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had a couple tragedies the last couple weeks. First, Aaron Rodgers loses and doesn't get to go to the Super Bowl, and then he gets engaged the day of the Super Bowl. I mean, that's got to be bad for you.
Well, you know what? I hope he really is engaged and in love because literally the day before that engagement news came out, I was talking with a friend of mine from Ohio, and he's like, "You do know that Aaron Rodgers being gay is like the worst secret in the NFL or something like that. It's like everybody knows he's gay." So I was like, well, I hope I don't care if he is, but I hope he isn't, for the fact that if he is and has to work this hard to cover it up, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, no,
You've heard that rumor, obviously, or whatever. So
I'd never heard that rumor before till right now, actually.
Really? Okay. So half the people I talked to are like, yeah, everybody knows that. And then there's the other half who are huge football fans like you who were like, no.
I never heard that.
So you know what? It's a win-win. I hope he's in love.
There you go.
I mean, I thought I had a chance, but.
Well, had you met him, I think you would have been able to. I think you could have closed the deal had you met him, but.
I think so too.
I believe in you.
I wasn't sure until he went out with that car racing girl, and I was like, "Oh, come on, I got this." Danica.
Yeah, she's a bit of a handful. So are we started yet? How's this working?
Oh, okay, so this is what's happening. I'm sorry. You started talking about Aaron Rodgers, and then I lost.
Right. I just didn't know if you'd started recording. We were already doing the podcast, or if there was this, because sometimes with me and Todd, that would just happen. We'd start talking, and then like they'd be like, "When are we going to start?" I'm like, "We started 40 minutes ago. This is it."
That's why I hit record as soon as you popped on, because I was like,
"Yeah, I wasn't sure what is this Jilling off, or is this a different kind of podcast?"
No, okay. So this is what's happening. I wanted to start my own thing, but I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. So last week I started and I just did by myself, but it was like 12 minutes. I did like just talking to myself on Zoom. So I put it out on YouTube like a vlog.
Yeah.
I also released the audio, but more, I don't want to just say like I'm doing a podcast. Like I was trying to do something a little different. And I was going to do that again this week, but then I was feeling so mentally ill. I was like, I need somebody. And of course, you're my number one. I was like, I need to talk to somebody.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So I'm putting it out
and I think people are going to be ready to go out, man. It's going to be like the Wild West. It's going to be like the end of Prohibition. People are going to party balls for about 2.5 years, and there might be comedy rooms in every fucking backroom bar in every place in the city,
Oh, yeah. There's going to be insane amount of, yeah. I just think it's going to be like sex and everything once you feel comfortable. I know I'll be attacking a lot of people.
Hey, well, I can imagine. I can imagine. I can't imagine if I'd have gone through this. I mean, luckily I have Chrissy. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, but if I didn't have Chrissy, I'd be at your apartment. I would just live on your couch, and just so the two of us would go through this. I mean, I don't even mean hooking up. I just mean I would have had to have another person with me this whole time. I couldn't have done this on my own at all. So
yeah, it's a mind fuck. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's rough.
I know. So that was one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about, because I think a lot of people, including myself, there's been a lot of moments of just like complete hopelessness. Now, in the past week, they said there can be live entertainment again in LA.
Right.
So that gave me like the most hope I've had, I think, during COVID. But I feel like in January is like the most depressed I got since like last April when it first started. And I think it was because we all were like, 2020 sucks. And then January hit and you're like, it's a new year, but felt exactly the same. So it just seemed like nothing was ever going to change. Did you feel any sense of like hopelessness? I know you're a much more positive guy than I am.
I'll tell you what, to be honest, all of my anxiety was based on whether Donald Trump was going to destroy the Republic or not. Like I literally I wasn't that afraid. I was like 15 or 20% afraid. But there was, I mean, the thing that happened on the 6th with the insurrection and all that, like there was a chance they were going to overturn this election and keep Donald Trump as president, and then we're not a Republican anymore, and who knows what happens. Yeah. Once that happened, and by the way, I think that kind of broke the spell for a lot of people. I'm not saying there aren't a lot of crazy people on that side of the aisle right now anyway, or still, but like even people like my dad, it kind of like made him go, oh, wait, what the hell are we doing? Jesus Christ, this isn't what we wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like it kind of snapped them out of it. So I feel like the last month has been really nice, honestly. But I think that's because we're seeing hope. I mean, just having a national plan is, even if it's not a good national plan, even a bad national plan is better than no plan, which is what we had before. So, I mean, I feel like the storm clouds are opening. I think by April, May, June at the latest, we'll be able to get back out there and do what we're going to do. And then, like I said, I think kind of like they say when you take like Molly or something, you use up all your happiness like in 8 hours and then you're sad for 3 days or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be the exact opposite. People have been saving their money, not going out. They've been like just getting, and then the minute the bars open, it's going to be like 2 years of just Mardi Gras, I think.
That's funny.
The next pandemic's gonna be syphilis, is my point, I think. But
well, I think I was thinking of it more at just a smaller scale. Like definitely the presidential, that was very exciting news. But I think I was thinking more of a smaller, like when we can actually really have a career and make money again.
Well, see, that's where I've gotten lucky in that I'm making more money right now than I've ever made ever. Like, so.
Oh, good. Oh, that's why you guys tapped. Yeah, you guys tapped into a good market.
I'm doing the Zoom show, and then some other things I've got to do. So I mean, like, I don't have that financial pressure either. I mean, like I was under way more financial pressure before the pandemic than I am now. Ironically enough, I mean, because you know this. 3 weeks before this all started, I went and got a job at Dave & Buster's as a fucking server.
Oh, that's right.
So I worked for 3 weeks and the whole world shut down. My buddy Ryan thinks this is all my fault because that's how much God doesn't want me to have a job, that he shut down the whole world rather than me work as a server. But yeah, I was a Dave & Buster's server for 3 weeks and the world shut down. So I've been way better I was way more depressed coming home from a day serving at Dave & Buster's than I was laying in my house all day eating pizza during a pandemic.
That is so funny. Yeah, that happened for a lot of people. I mean, I definitely have more money than I've ever had, but I think I still felt the hopelessness of but just not knowing when it was going to open again, even though I'm financially secure right now.
Yeah, and I feel that way. I mean, I will say, like, we watched the Comedy Store documentary on Showtime, like in December or whenever it came out.
Yeah,
and I realized that that's really what I've always wanted, was just to be one of those guys. I always want to be a Comedy Store comic. That's why I moved here. I mean, I remember I was just thinking today about me and you. I remember going to the Comedy Store with you on a Tuesday with 3 people in the audience, and we sat and watched that whole terrible open mic when Tommy still ran, and it was terrible. But even then, I was like, someday I want to be on this stage, because I knew the history of it. And then all of a sudden it blew up again, and it's this amazing place, which is awesome. So it is disappointing that like I'm spending the money on rent and all the stuff that I'm doing here just to go to the Comedy Store that's not open. Like I finally at 47 know what I want to do and the direction I want to be in, and I can't do it right now. But that's okay. I think ultimately I'm going to end up 3 years ahead of schedule because this happened. So like I had to put 1.5 years in the bank, but I probably would have spent another 2 years or 3 years without any, because there was just so many people in front of me just in line. And
yeah, that's the interesting thing about the store. We had no way of getting in when it was blown up before this pandemic, and now they all left. So if it does reopen, we might have a slight chance.
And that's what I'm saying. There's going to be spots there that are open. You know what I mean? Because all the big name guys left now. And I think the crowds in the very beginning are going to come back. The crowd, I think the crowds initially came back because of Joe Rogan, but then eventually the Comedy Store became this mecca of cool again. And I'm not sure it just goes away. I mean, I think Joe and Roast Battle and the things that built it up needed to happen. I think but I think also the changing of the manager and the booker and all that is I don't think that trajectory is going down anytime soon. But how many more spots are there going to be there if that whole group of guys and gals all those comics are in Texas or wherever?
Yeah.
We weren't getting on the main stage anytime soon, where I think we got a better chance now than we ever had. So
yeah. It's going to be all of us and David Spade, who's still around.
Hey. I love David Spade.
I love David Spade, but I feel like that's the only name I could think of that hasn't moved to Austin. I was like, well, he's still here.
When I picked you up from the airport that time, remember I made you watch that David Spade comedy special and then we went to the store, went to the belly room, and then you had to Uber home because you were real drunk.
Oh,
that was a fun night.
I always bail early on you. I'm the worst.
That's all right. You were the last person I hung out with before this all started. Remember, that was our last night. Last night I saw you was the Tuesday before everything closed, because we went and saw Newberg at the Den
Oh, was that the Tuesday right before it closed?
That was the
Oh,
Tuesday before everything closed. The next day, that was the next day. That was the day that quarantine had started. Was the day I kind of knew this was the last night. Remember, I kept going, let's spend all the money while money still exists, and this is the last night of bars, so we were doing shots. And then I went to the Comedy Store and closed it out by myself. I was just the last guy at the Comedy Store when they shut down, just I knew we weren't going to be going there for a very long time.
God, you had foresight. I was just like, whatever, this is fine. I was not worried about COVID at all in the beginning. I don't think I watched enough news. I was just like, oh, all I kept hearing was wash your hands. I'm like, all right, we got to wash our hands a lot. And that's all I knew of it. I never.
Yeah. I mean, when the NCAA shut down and when the NBA stopped playing, that's when I took it serious. Like and I made this joke in the very beginning, but like the one good thing about, and this kind of even helped with the presidential election, the one good news about having two news channels that are completely opposed is that when Fox News and CNN agree, that shit's real. So that when Fox News and CNN both said the same thing for about 8 hours, March 15th, I was like, oh, this shit's serious.
That's so funny.
It doesn't happen very often, but when they agree, you know what I mean? It's when the whole crowd's running, run with them, you know, kind of a thing. So that's where I was like, oh, this is going to be. And then part of it too was I was watching it more because my girlfriend was in California, or she was in Florida.
Oh, that's right.
So she was on a cruise ship. So also cruise ships were getting quarantined, and I was afraid she wasn't going to get back. And then I was also afraid that they were going to shut down all the airlines because they weren't going to let me travel. I was really worried I was going to have to drive to Florida to get her.
I remember that.
You know, because I really had a real fear I was going to be locked down for 3 months all by myself. And which would have been rough for me.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more of a hermit. You do okay by yourself. You like people, but you also like your alone time. I do not like alone time, Jen. That's not my thing at all.
Yeah, I definitely spend a lot more time alone than you.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
But you're a much happier person than me, so I don't know.
Well, I think you're pretty happy most of the time, aren't you?
I'm happy right now.
Well, there you go. So I mean,
that's why I contacted you today. I have not talked to Bowers in so long, and I need him.
Well, again, I think ultimately we're going to be. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty optimistic about this whole thing. I think in another 4 or 5 months, we'll be back at it, and people have all this pent up energy, and then too, I think what I'm really excited about. This is what this is going to kill that I'm really excited about is no longer give you that comic that goes, people, huh? I love when I get to cancel plans and sit home in my pajamas at my house. I hate when I have to go outside because the whole crowd will just boo that guy now. Like, fuck you. Being outside's awesome. Like all those malcontent people that just never wanted to be in public and always wanted to be at home. Yeah. 8 months at home, they're like, actually, I do like people and bars are fun. And I'm sorry I made fun of clubs and everything else.
That was like something that bad comics would do. Or not even bad, but just comics that were bombing sometimes. Yeah. And they knew they were bombing. So they'd be like, Jesus, guys, come on. I put on clothes to come out here for you.
Right, exactly. Well,
oh, thank you.
Well, there is just that isn't one of the comic tropes was everyone sucks and outside is stupid and I wish I was just home. Yeah. And because there's always somebody who got drugged to the comedy club by their friends who wishes they were home. And that's just not going to work for a while. And then I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I think you're right earlier when you said it's going to be just the Wild West. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be a good time. But
I was almost thinking, which I probably won't do, but I was almost like, maybe I should be a bartender for a couple months when this opens back up because everyone's going to be partying.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. And that's the other thing too, like to be a bartender at a cool bar in Hollywood, like that took you 6 or 7 years to get in, but all those people left too. You know what I mean? So like there's all kinds of people that went home, and I just think there's people that went home and they broke out of their loops and they were like, what was I doing for 10 years? I'm not happy. And they're going to stay in Hartford or wherever they live and not come back. Now, some people will come back, but like I said, Chrissy's going to be a bartender, I think somewhere, and there's going to be all kinds of opportunities and cool places that, weren't open before because the bartenders had all been there for 15 years or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I had already done comedy here for 14 years and I still was terrified. So I can't imagine if you had only been here like 2 years trying to do stand-up, of course you're going to go home.
Well, I think I actually think it's
unless
more,
you're rich.
Well, no, we just got here. Like I just got here. I got a couple other buddies that just got here like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So it's like, well, I'm talking about people who have been here like 8 years and don't have any success.
No, but
right?
you
Like
came
you're,
here with success. I'm talking about, I
no,
was saying people that are new to stand up.
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think that, but I think sometimes they're too new. What I'm thinking is there are people that moved out here 6 years ago, 8 years ago,
Yeah.
from wherever, and they've been beating their head against a wall for 8 years. Now they're in the way. They're still taking spots here and there at different shows, but like they get one spot every 3 months at the Improv or something. Like, because you're working, you're doing comedy all over the place. There's people that aren't at that level that I think they're gonna
Yeah.
go home and go, man, I've been there 8 years and I do one show every 3 months. What the hell am I doing? And they may not come back.
Yeah.
And those are the people I think that, because, there are people who just haven't seen, there are people still getting better. There are people who haven't been seen by the right people yet. And there's people that just don't have it. Those people just need to get out of the way at some point.
Yeah.
You know,
I am
and I don't
so
know
curious.
I don't know which one I am yet.
Well, no, you're a successful person. You were new to LA, but you weren't new. You came here with, you're a great comic.
Wow.
It's hard to get into the clubs here. Oh my God, you're an amazing comic. Are you kidding me? You have new material.
But the only success I ever had is because I bought clubs. I mean, it's not like I ever got booked anywhere. I mean, because again, being an amazing comic is part of it, but it's also, there's a lot of other shit you got to figure out how to do too.
Well, yeah, no, I know that. Of course, there's a whole different like networking and business and all that stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're good because you didn't just put all your stuff into comedy. I mean, the motivational speaking and the corporate stuff is what really makes you your money, right?
Yeah, I mean, corporate, not really. I mean, we did some corporate Zoom stuff when this first happened because there was a bunch of these conferences that were scheduled that got canceled, and the people that were running them just switched to comedy on Zoom, which paid a little bit of money for a while. But like the motivational speaking stuff, yeah, that's where I make a decent amount of money every year. I mean, I'd like to honestly retire from that. I'm kind of done, kind of over all that. I'm still going to do it, but it's just, I mean, I'm 47 now. I don't connect with 14-year-old. Like, also my brain, I just realized this the last couple of years. There was a long time till I was probably 35 where I still thought like a teenager somehow. I could still write jokes that teenagers would get. And I would have a take that they would, and even the jokes I wrote then still work to teenagers now. Like the jokes still work. They're still good jokes. But everything I write now, it doesn't relate anymore. Like I lost that somewhere along the way. I lost that kid brain or whatever. And now when I write something new, like I wrote this thing about the pandemic to talk about, and it's like just way too high level. It's just not something they're going to get. You know what I mean?
Somewhere around like 45 years old, you lost that.
Yeah, it was rough.
That teenage mentality.
I was about 40 when I finally decided I didn't know how teenagers thought anymore. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I feel fucking old bastard, but I held out as long as I could, but eventually.
So is it mostly Zoom comedy shows that you're making all the money then?
Well, just our show. We do the Social Distance Social Club. Our show's 4 days a week, and we have a Patreon with like 92 Patreons, and people tip every day, and so that pays most of my bills. And then
that's great.
Queen Rachel and I, Rachel reads all our tips and stuff. We're starting a podcast. Well, it's a live digital event on Zoom every Wednesday where it's called Origin Stories, where we're going to interview our comics from the show and figure out where they came from. So the tagline is we're going to find out where the metaphorical dead parents are in the metaphorical alley of your life or whatever. So that's what we're trying to do. But so anyway, we're just going to interview comics and figure out where they came from and what made them comics or whatever. So we'll probably make some money off that as well. I mean, that's just, so it's not been stand-up. I will say this. I like doing stand-up on stand-up comedy on Zoom. It's not that much different. I cannot write on Zoom. I cannot write comedy on Zoom. Like it's really because I need 30 anonymous audiences that aren't recording me to make a joke right. And, now even like people watch the show, like it's great. I appreciate having fans, but if I do a comedy show and the same 6 people come every time, I can't, that's not how it works. And then also too, because you're recording it on Zoom, I don't want to do, sometimes jokes start terrible and then you shave them down till they're good. You just need an anonymous room in the dark to do that somewhere. Now, that being said, once we can open back up and I can go write jokes like I do in a club on a stage, then I'm going to make a ton of money doing Zoom comedy shows after that. Because I'll just do a new hour every 3 months on Zoom to all my people that like me.
Yeah.
I'll just develop new shit in the clubs for free because you don't get paid out here, or very little anyway. and then every 3 months do a show. And here's what I've worked on this hour. This is my hour for these 3 months. But I've got a distribution. I don't need to like sell it as an album or whatever. I'll just do it on Zoom. And if I can sell 300 tickets for $20.
Yeah. And I'm sorry you doubted when I said you're an amazing comic and you're talking about doing a new hour every 3 months.
Wow. Look, just because I write a lot of stuff doesn't mean it's all good.
Well, it's good.
I mean, generally gets laughs, but
I don't lie. If I don't think you're great, not that my opinion means everything, but yeah, there's nobody that writes as much as you. There's a few, but you crank out the material. Like, it's very inspiring.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, because I love trying like brand new premises on stage.
Right.
When there's people, even if I don't have a punchline, because I feel like just seeing people's reactions sometimes gives you an idea, or you improvise. And I'm like, I tried it on Zoom and I was like, oh shoot, you can't improvise on Zoom.
It's not, I mean, you can a little, but it's not the same.
It's not.
Yeah, it's that fear. Your brain just, it's fear. It's fight or flight. You're on stage and you're like, oh my God, this doesn't have an ending. I better think of something. I'm gonna look like an idiot. And your brain then usually comes through for you and thinks of something in the moment that sitting at your desk, you never would have thought of, because you didn't have the pressure of everybody looking at you to force it out of you,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same as you. I like writing on stage.
Yeah. Well, I like write. So I'll write with, I'll call you or whoever I'll tell a joke to, and I'll write it. But then I need to go on stage to, like, the basic joke will be done when I go on stage. It's where's the line? How do I shave off? Okay, this joke's about domestic violence, but I don't want you to give up on me the first 4 minutes, or first 40 seconds of the joke and not hear the point of the joke. So I need to clean up sometimes the language, because sometimes people argue on the way to it. They're like, well, that's not true. It's like, okay, but that's not the part of the joke I care about. That's just how I'm getting to the joke. Sure, that statistic may not be completely true, but the heart of the joke is this, But so that's what you work out on stage, is what people are going to object to on the way to the punchline, so that when you get there, they all laugh, I guess is what I'm trying to do, is try to weed out the parts that make people turn off or decide they don't like the joke before they get to the punchline. So, but you can only do that on stage. I can't do that. I haven't been able to do that on Zoom very well.
Yeah, me neither. I just bail so much sooner on Zoom.
I feel like people are really supportive on Zoom, which is great, but they're trying to help you, and they know that you can hear their laugh specifically. So sometimes I think if they like you, they're just trying to help you out by laughing. And it's not as pure a reaction as people that don't know you at all and are just sitting in a crowd. But that's why it's tough for people to write material after they're famous, because people just laugh because they're, whoever.
Yeah. It's so funny, because I feel like when you're a newer comic, or even first, like probably 8 years for me or so, silence in an audience is uncomfortable. So sometimes you tend to talk really fast. And I feel like I just in the last couple of years have been really comfortable with like just pausing between jokes, or pausing before a punchline, and literally just having like seconds, silence.
Yeah.
And those are like really cool moments. And now I feel like doing comedy on Zoom, I've gone back to like open mic Jen, where I'm like talking really fast and I'm like, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything.
It did take me a second to figure out how to pause in the right amount of time. Because there's, I call it lean into the joke. When you first start doing open mics and you're like, and then it was a baby.
Lean in.
And you're looking for the joke and it doesn't come and you look like a moron, right? But then there's times where you're talking about where you go, and then he's a baby, right? And then we go into and you go right on the next joke and you step on the laugh completely. And it did take me a while to calibrate how to like not wait too long for the laugh and look like a moron, but like not then jump completely quickly into the next thing and not give it a second for there to be a laugh. That took a second. But yeah, it's
I honestly feel like I nailed it right before COVID. I was like, I got this silence thing down.
Well, it'll come back. I love using silence. Silence is very important in comedy. I think there's nothing better. And that's how I deal with like, and not somebody yelling stuff. People won't yell stuff out at me, but occasionally if somebody's being loud in the audience, I learned this doing middle school stuff. If there's just a lady and a guy just talking real loud to the right, I just stop and wait till they notice that everyone's looking at them. And generally they'll go, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, sorry. And then they don't do it again. Where if you tell them to shut up, they have that, bravado of fuck you or whatever. They like when you tell someone, when you correct someone, they're generally their thought is they're mad at you, right? But if you
Yeah.
just let them correct themselves, so I love using silence. It's really really good in any level.
I like it too. Have you had any like weird friendship interactions or not interactions, but have you had any like switches where
What do you
like
mean?
people that you used to kind of hang out with and you're like, we're cool. And then now maybe you only see them on social media. And like some people kind of went a little nuts during COVID on social media. And you're like, ooh,
Oh, you didn't mean to have any QAnon friends? Is that what you're saying?
either that or just people who couldn't get on stage. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know you needed that much attention. Like all of a sudden they're naked on.
Oh, gotcha. I don't think I found many of those guys, or many. I haven't seen many of that.
Maybe I've noticed it more with girls where I'm like, some people started getting naked. I was like, oh, you never got naked before, but I think you aren't getting on stage and you need attention on
Yeah, yeah,
social media.
yeah, I can see that. I mean, yeah, I saw a little of that. I mean, now I do. I mean, Josh Nasser's doing that thing on TikTok now where he pulls
I
up to people in cars.
love,
It's so funny. I'm like, we should have been doing this the whole time, Josh, because that's what Josh is good at. It's just like any conversation that's just awkward. I mean, it's just so funny now. I love those things. So like,
I
I think
love him.
that's what I've seen more of. I've seen more people like figure this shit out and figure out a way to do it and adapt that I thought was really cool. I haven't seen that many people go completely crazy, but
I am so glad you brought up Josh Nasser because I was thinking about him as far as like people. He's one of the first people I met, I think, when I started at the Comedy Store. So I've known him probably 13, 14 years or whatever. And I feel like up until now with these TikTok videos, he's somebody who you're like, Josh is great, Josh is funny, but it was never like a certain fit. And
right.
now all of a sudden you're like, oh, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
He's going to go viral. This is it. This is what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I met him, he did stand up, but he wasn't quite as outrageous as he is now. And over the last couple of years, he's gotten more and more just like, I don't give a fuck. Like I've kind of watched his attitude change a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And it's so cool to see, to just see where all the, like, it doesn't matter how many years you're trying, all of a sudden you hit your niche. You're just like, and
right.
And you see it happen with him. I'm like, oh, this is fucking beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, no, that happens all the time with people where you see them just catch their stride finally, and it's like they were pushing against the wrong wall, and they finally hit the right thing, and all of a sudden like, oh, this is what I was supposed to be doing. It's like, yeah, that's part of the so that's kind of what I do too. I mean, I think part of this is watch for what's supposed to happen and just and don't fight it so hard. I've always said that faith isn't believing in God; it's believing He knows what He's doing, right? So like. like just like I have a feeling that whatever plan is for the universe is probably better than what my stupid thoughts are. You know what I mean? So like if it keeps pushing you one direction, maybe quit fighting it so goddamn hard and just roll with the tide or whatever. You know what I mean? So but I have seen a lot of people do some cool stuff, and I really have I've noticed, and because this is the first disruption I've been through really. But like, there's been disruptions throughout history, whether it's the development of the car, the Industrial Revolution, or, I mean, any of this shit. I mean, World War II, and it's amazing to see who adapts and who doesn't. You know? And you kind of see like, oh, so 100 years ago, the reason this group of people ended up rich is because they all adapted, while the people that didn't, I'm sure there are plenty of guys who sold horse and buggy equipment that were like, nope, the car's a fad, and didn't, put their money into car equipment. They just stuck with the horse and buggy stuff and then just, went out of business and blamed the president or whatever. Where it's like, well, no, maybe you should have adapted, man. Saw it was coming. But
yeah. So well, I mean, you guys were the first people I saw adapt to this.
I mean, I went to Steve's March 16th. I went to Steve Hofstadter's March 16th, and I said, people are going to be inside for 3 to 6 months. We got to come up with something for them to watch.
How did you have that foresight? And everybody thought like 2 weeks, 4 weeks. You guys started like the day of the pandemic. I was like, damn, that was fast.
Yeah, I went with you to the Comedy Store on the 14th, or went to the Den with you on the 14th. Me and Steve sat down on the 15th, and we did our first show on the 16th. And I was like, we got to do something. And Ben Glebe had called Steve the same day on the 15th and said, we got to start an online comedy club. This is going to take a while.
Wow.
And so I'm not involved with the comedy club. They started the comedy club. Those guys did, but then we started the show.
That is amazing how fast that you would just adapt, make a switch.
Well, luckily we had Steve already had a built-in audience. I mean, Steve's been, I mean, it's one of those things where like he was it came out of nowhere after 20 years or whatever kind of thing, but like he'd been building this audience primarily online, which was great. I mean, like also Steve's fans are people who know how to use the internet. They found him on YouTube. They're computer people. So he already had 100. So when we put up our first Facebook Live, we actually did one on the 15th, just me and him, to see if anybody would come watch it. And we made like, I don't know, $500 or $600 the first day in 40 minutes because, the minute he logged on and said he was going live, like 15,000 people started watching and asking him questions. So he already had this thing built and it was already sitting there ready to go. And then, basically he didn't know it, but he was a doomsday prepper, but with internet fans. And then when doomsday happened, we were ready to go.
Yeah, but I still think that's the difference between like very successful people and non, is like most of us would have been like, let's wait 2 weeks and see what happens. But like for you to start on the day, like,
well, but by the way, I've never been
foresight to know, I just think is like an amazing.
But I've never been an early adopter before. I just was like, this time I'm going to be the first to do some of this shit. Cause I mean, my first iPhone was an iPhone 5. So it's not like I'm a guy who shows up at the first day of shit generally. You know what I mean? This happened to be, I just happened to think, you know what? I think this is going to take a while. I mean, part of it was I didn't feel like we had the leadership at the top to do anything with this. It was already pretty out of control. I mean, Italy was already pretty fucked when this all happened. So, I mean, it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. That's not how diseases work. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, this is going to take, I mean, again, I thought we'd be inside for 6 or 8 months, maybe.
Oh, you're right.
I thought it was more deadly than it was. I mean, like literally, I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was going to be like we were the first 3 months, like this whole time. Right. And some people are still doing that, but like, and that's part of this too, Jen. Have you left California since this all started?
No.
Okay. It's probably worth it to you to like just go somewhere to realize that no one else cares about this like California does. Well, like when you go to Florida, like no one gives a shit. When you go to Indiana, like they make every other table, and you can only six people at a table. They're following rules. They're wearing masks and stuff, but it's not like this big, like everything shut down, no one can go anywhere or whatever. And cases are just as prevalent here as they are in Florida. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do something, but I'm not sure locking everything down is the answer. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's what makes it so confusing. And a lot of people think it was totally political, and that's why they opened up again.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was political. We opened back up because Gavin Newsom was going to get recalled, and I mean, but again, this is the problem with not having national leadership: is we have 50 bad guys. Every state has to have a bad guy, and every state's governor is a bad guy, no matter which side of the fucking fence they're on. If they were like wear masks and shut everything down, bad guy. But if they're like, hey, let's keep things open, idiot, bad guy. Like this is so polarizing that and I had a high school principal because I speak at high schools, and he said, thank God they finally had a mask mandate in Ohio from the governor, because when this first happened, like in June, they said, okay, we're not going back to school, but we're going to go back to school in August. And the plan they had at the time, they sent this email. He said, we're going to have kids wear masks. Okay, first of all, if you don't want to come to school because you're scared, completely online. You can do all your classes online. We'll pay for all the services, all the teachers, all the tutors. Won't cost you anything, but you can do it all online. Or you can come to school, but if you come to school, wear a mask on the bus, mask in the hallways, but we're not going to make you wear masks at lunch or in the classrooms, right?
Oh.
That was their policy. So he sent it out. Well, within, and by the way, this is before we had national mask mandates and all this stuff. This was in last June. I mean, so we were still kind of masks were new. But anyway, he said within 2 minutes, he got 2 emails. One said, my son will never wear a mask, you libtard piece of shit. And by the way, you're not taking his senior year away from him. He will be at school maskless. And if you want to fight me, you can fight me. And then the next email said, how can you not make them wear masks in the classroom? You murderer. You're going to kill my daughter, but I can't. She's a freshman and she has to go to school because I don't have daycare for her. So she has to go to school, but don't murder her. Make sure they work. So like, what the fuck do you do? Right? Like both people think you're a terrible person. So instead of being one bad guy, the national government is a bad guy. We have 50 bad guys. Each state has their own bad guy, and it's just fucked up. It's just weird. So hopefully we'll figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah,
but we'll hang out in May, I think, Jen. We'll hang out in May.
You think not till May?
Well, I mean, I'll hang out whenever you want. I already got COVID. I tell you that I got COVID in November, so I don't even give a shit anymore.
No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, we got COVID. Like, so we had this little football pod of people, and it was one of my buddy's birthdays, and his sister-in-law came over. Our sister came over with her brother, or her husband, his brother-in-law, and he had COVID apparently. And we all got COVID. But then we had Thanksgiving together because we all got COVID together. So we all like you had to be COVID positive to come to Thanksgiving, which is pretty funny.
That
we
is
called the health
hilarious.
department. We're like, we all got COVID at the same place. Can we get more sick by having Thanksgiving together? They're like, nah, if you already got it. So, at this
That
point,
is hilarious.
I figure it didn't kill me. It's probably not going to kill anybody else. I'm about as fat and out of shape as you can get.
Yeah, but you have a very strong system.
That's true. I do have a pretty strong system. I mean, I only had like 3 days where I kind of felt like shit, and then it was done. So, but
Have you been doing too many drugs during the COVID?
It's weird. Is I stopped drinking. Really, I mean, I drank a little.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
I didn't stop. I mean, like, I'm not an alcoholic, so I don't have to like. I'm never gonna have a drink again. But like, I went from like, me, I would drink 3-4 nights a week. I mean, always with people. I never drank by myself. That was one of my rules, and that's part of with quarantining. Is mostly you're by yourself. I mean, but I just almost switched completely to weed. I just smoke weed every day now, and it's just because it's just a better buzz, and it's just I don't feel like shit the next day, and it's not a bunch of calories, and it's like,
Yeah.
and also I remember stuff, and it's like, we've talked about this a bunch of times. I mean, like when I'm drunk, sometimes I'm creepy. Most of the time I'm nice, but I'm usually pretty fine. But like, every morning I wake up going, oh, did I fucking say something shitty? Was I fucking this or that, whatever? And usually I wasn't, but when I'm drinking, I just fear that I was. Where when I smoke weed, I can be like, oh no, I was fine last night. I was, complimentary without being an asshole about it.
I've definitely had a lot more pot during quarantine than I ever did before.
Yeah, we did some mushrooms a couple times. We tripped on acid in the summer. Me and Chrissy did our first acid trip in July. That was crazy.
I've been wanting to do mushrooms, not necessarily to get high. I want to do it because I heard it can help your kind of change your brain chemistry a little.
Mushrooms have been great. I've figured out a lot of cool shit on mushrooms the last couple months.
But do you have to get really high? Because I think when I do it, I'd be by myself, and I'm scared of tripping out by myself.
I get that. I mean,
but I want to change my brain chemistry because I really think I'm mentally ill. Why are we both laughing and snorting at that?
Because you just said it so matter of factly,
I am.
But you said it like you're out of shape. You know what I mean? I'd like to change Russian, because I think I'm severely mentally ill, and whatever. It's like just the way you said it, you just threw it away like it was such a funny. I'd like to take mushrooms because I think I'm mentally ill, of course, and.
I figure this about me.
We found these mushroom chocolates. I'll have to get you some. And what I find is that my friend Sarah described mushrooms this way. She said mushrooms are a lot like marijuana without the anxiety. So like we're not taking enough where we're like seeing trippy shit. Like that's not what's happening. But you just like mushrooms is one of the few things I can take and I can just be. Like most of my life is about consuming stuff. This is one of the things I've learned on mushrooms. Most of my life is about consuming stuff, whether I'm watching something, drinking something, smoking something, talking to someone, listening to, and very seldom am I just and that's one of the things I've figured out that is different in my life because of the pandemic is I don't drive anymore. And I used to and get a lot of enjoyment of a 4-hour drive. I would just drive 4 hours and just not have the radio on and just like think about shit. And like, it just was really good for me. And I don't do that anymore. And that's one of the reasons anytime I feel off, I'm like, oh, maybe that's what it is. I haven't just driven and contemplated shit for a while. Cause that being a Midwest comic, all you do is drive 10 hours and do a gig and drive 10 hours back. And,
Yeah, that's true. I did used to love really long drives as well.
Yeah. Cause I don't mean like traffic, like that sucks.
Oh God, no. No, but just like open road driving.
You're on I-70 and you just got to go, you're driving from Indy to Maryland and it's 8.5 hours, but it's all the same road and it's 70 miles an hour the whole way. And you're just, just put it in cruise control and roll.
Yeah.
But
do you think that that's true? But have you heard that? Do you really think that mushrooms do you think they can really change?
Yes, 1,000%. And I would go into it with an intention.
That's what I've heard. You have to set something in your brain. that you want to
so,
change.
Yeah. So like, you know, but even just having conversations with Chrissy, I've just realized a bunch of stuff. Like I realized on mushrooms, like I've always wondered what my life was about. Is it about, because I'm not really chasing money. I was like, oh, I'm chasing girls. And really what that's not is, it's about, I've just, since I was a little kid, just been trying to find someone to listen to me, you know? And that's really what it is. That's what comedy is. That's what speaking is. It's just, and because people didn't listen to me as a kid. And so I figured I found tricks and ways to make them listen to me, you know, and part of that was I got better at talking. I became more interesting, I hope, and funnier and all those things. But at the end of the day, my whole life is about finding new people to listen to me.
Wait, you realized this when you're on mushrooms?
Yeah.
But did you feel like you needed a way to fix that, to not have that need?
No, what I realized was then now there's times where I'm about to talk and I'll go, okay, do you really want to say this, or do you just need someone to listen to you right now? And then also I realized that a lot of my friends also just need someone to listen to them. So now rather than arguing with them, I just listen to them, and it makes everything better.
Okay.
So me knowing that was my base need made me realize, oh, when my buddy Casey comes over and he's talking about whatever he's talking about, he just wants somebody to listen to him. So now I just go, oh, okay. Oh, wow, I hadn't heard that. And I truly listen to what he's saying. I don't pretend. I'm saying I truly listen to what he's saying. And now we don't argue anymore because I don't need to convince him that I'm right. Once I realize that this is basically what a friendship is I've agreed to listen to you and you've agreed to listen to me, because what we really need is someone to listen to us. Then I'm okay listening to a crazy story, because I know that the only reason they need to tell it, that's what they just need somebody to listen to them, and I'll be that person. So it made me be a better listener, you know?
Okay.
So I like that. And then also realize it made me understand some of my behavior, where I'm like, oh, that's why I have outrageous takes about, you know, vegetables aren't good for you or whatever. Because if I say something stupid like that, somebody will talk to me for half an hour and listen to my crazy theory. You know what I mean?
So interesting. Okay.
So now I've made those theories funny, but all those crazy thoughts I've had, all this contrarian stuff, was all because I just wanted someone to listen to me talk, and this was a good way to do it. And so if I strip out the ones that I don't like, or that were just blatant tricks, you know, just arguing with someone just to piss them off so they'll listen to your point, just stop doing that shit and only talk when you have something good to say. It's been helping, I think.
Okay. So mine is that I would feel like when you said ever since you're a kid, I feel like ever since I was young, I'm just desperately searching for somebody to love me. And I feel like that's more pathetic.
Well, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I realized I was too, but it wasn't about loving. I was fine. What sparked it was Chrissy was like, I was just babbling about something because I was on mushrooms, and I said, am I boring you? And she said, no, I just love listening to you talk. I don't care what you're saying.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, that's why this works. That's really what I've been looking for. Someone just to listen. And she just loves listening. And she truly enjoys listening to me talk. And that's really all I've needed, you know? And so, you know, that's why I want to go to bars and meet new people. Cause part of this is I used to always joke when I was in high school that I was really cool for 48 hours because I had 48 hours worth of material, and then I would run out. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more material.
Really cool for 15 minutes. That's what I'm going to say.
Now I can do about 6.5 days before you get tired of me. I run out of shit. But that's why I'm always finding new people, but that's also why I'm always writing new material, because it's a reason for you to listen to me. Hey, I got a new joke to tell you. And then you'll listen to me.
I wish I had your problem instead of mine.
Well,
I'd have a lot more material and a lot more friends.
But the other problem is that, and this is what's fun, is the other thing I've realized, and I think part of this is mushrooms, is a lot of times the thing we fear happens because we fear it, right? So when I need people to listen, I'm so worried about them listening to me that I talk a whole bunch, which makes them what? Stop listening to me, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So like all these QAnon people are going to fuck around and have the government have to kill them all, which is their greatest fear. The government never would have occurred to kill them all if they wouldn't have fucking done all this crazy shit and gotten crazier and crazier and crazier, to the point where some of these motherfuckers are going to get killed by the government, and they're going to go, see, I told you the government was going to kill me eventually. And it's like, yeah, but only because you kept yelling that. Had you not said it, the government never would have killed you, right? So I think that it's the fear of not finding that person to love you that subconsciously is probably getting in your way. If you could get over it and know
It's
that
probably why I
eventually,
turn everybody off.
I don't think you turn people off. I think that
I sabotage.
I was gonna say, I think you sabotage. I think the people that really like you, you somehow think that there's something wrong with them because who would like you, and then you follow after the people who don't like you, and then wonder why no one likes you. It's like, well, no, you chase after the ones that don't like you, and you blow off the ones that do like you. Because I know there's people that have liked you.
Can you say that again on repeat? I'm just kidding. No,
I'm saying I know there's people that have liked
that was
you.
a perfect, yeah. Well, but also if I like somebody, I tend to get way too excited, and then you got to play a little hard to get or something. And I don't do that. I text too much. I'm just like too needy or something.
That's not my experience, but you don't like me, so that's my one bird.
I don't like you. I love you.
You never text me too much, Jen. You never text me at all. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I always feel bad saying no because you're like, come over and I want to. And I'm like, I can't go to your apartment.
Oh, by the way, don't ever feel bad. I mean, that's the one thing with me and my friends. I've told you this a million times. I'm happy anytime. Like if I didn't see you for 5 years and you called me like, hey, it's Jen Murphy. Let's go have a drink. I'd be like, sweet, Jen Murphy. I wouldn't be like, why would you call me for I love you. And when I can see you, I'm excited about it. And, I'm not mad when I don't get to see you. I mean,
yeah. Well,
when I get to see you, my day's better than when I don't get to see you, but I'm not mad at you when I don't. So don't ever feel any pressure or obligation is what I'm saying.
Well, now that there's outside seating available, maybe we, can make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go get an antibody test. I mean, since I already had COVID, you know what I mean? I'm going to get one this week anyway. I tried to get one before we went back to Indiana, but they were out of them. So, but
I'm sure you're good since you had it.
Maybe we'll see. I hope, but so anyways, I guess my point is like, it's the fear a lot of times. Like I tell high school kids all the time, the fear of looking awkward and weird is what makes you look awkward and weird. Stop it.
Yeah, but how do you? Okay, so this is the only positive is that I feel good that I've never been so self-aware of how fucking weird I am. I used to just think that what's wrong with me? Like self-pity, like why are people mean to me? So that's one positive. But once you're that self-aware, then you're like,
what are you weird about?
Is that just who I am? Or can you actually like change your behavior? That's why I asked about like the mushroom. Like, can I change who I am? But then do you want to change who you are or just try and find somebody who's going to love you for the weirdo that you are?
Well, honestly, okay, there's three things I would say. One is I don't think you're a weirdo. I think that, if you tell me, no, actually, here's a thing, and I'd be like, oh, fuck, that is weird. I don't know what you're talking about when you say weirdo, but because I've never hung out with you and thought you were weird. I've always thought you were just fun and cool and a good time. I've always thought you were just a fun person. I've never,
Well, yeah, I guess I'm not that weird. I know girls that do fucking weird shit. I don't do anything. I don't act out in any way that's weird.
Are you
when I say weird, it's probably the stuff that's going on in my head. Like I'm never somebody that acts out and like, slashes a guy's tires or does something weird. I'm just talking about, I guess, I think it's more of like obsession. Like if I really like somebody, it's just, they're too much in my head and that's not good. That's a bad, when somebody becomes more important than yourself or you're like thinking about, like too much. I don't know.
So Chrissy, I keep bringing her up, but this is where this all started was I realized that, and through the acid trip and all that Chrissy doesn't have anxiety. So this will blow you away, Jen, because I couldn't even believe it. I said, because something else came up. This is how this all started. Something else came up and I go, well, that feeling like when you want someone to call you or text you and you're like waiting and you're like, you don't want to look at the clock to see how long it's been and you're waiting for them to call you or text you. And then like every time your phone buzzes and it's not them, you're mad because it's not them and you're now kind of, or whatever. That feeling when you're real anxious, want somebody to call you. And Chrissy said, no, she's never felt that.
Why is she so lucky?
Because it would never occur. I don't know. I joke that her parents paid the exact right amount of attention to her somehow. Like I think they paid too much attention to me when I was younger. That's why I need so much. And then certain people, they didn't pay attention to them at all. And that's why they need so much. Somehow they paid the perfect amount, but she just like, it would never occur to her that somebody didn't like her. And because I've never met anybody who didn't. No one's ever talked shit about Chrissy in my entire 10-year relationship with her. Not one person's ever thought she was an asshole. I've never had anybody feud with her. No one's like, she's never been mad at anybody. No one's ever been mad at her. Like she doesn't get in fights. That's not what she does because it never occurred to her that anybody wouldn't like her. And because it doesn't occur to her, then she doesn't do the things that manifest people not liking her because
I
it's
am
the insecurity
so jealous.
of people. So I've been trying to study her, but part of that is, and it's not that she's not anxious so that's the first thing first of all, I don't think you're weird. I think that find someone who loves specifically who you are. Now, if you're saying that there's these specific weird things you do, okay, I think you can program yourselves not to do those things. I mean, you can teach yourself to not, if it's certain behaviors you're doing that are pushing people away, and it might be that you could text them 6 times in 3 minutes the first time you fuck, and that's weird. I don't know what you're doing.
It's not even that. I think confidence is a turn on, and I think people sense like that I have not. I think that's just what it is. I've met so many guys where I've been turned off because they're not confident. I think it's a very simple thing. I don't think that it's that I'm doing such weird things. I think you get that feeling when somebody's too insecure or too.
Can I tell you something that's going to sound like an insult, but I think it's a compliment? I think the problem is that when you meet you as funny and cool and hot as you are, when you don't have confidence in yourself, you seem dumb. Like for you not to be confident in yourself is really dumb. And maybe that's the turnoff.
I do get really dumb.
You're not dumb. I'm saying but you not believing in you, not thinking you're a catch is dumb.
So you've literally been around me and been like, Jen looks dumb right now.
I'm saying Jen seems dumb telling me she's not funny or hot or cool when she has all of those things. That's the thing that's confusing. You know what I mean? It'd be like if I told you I wasn't a good joke writer and you thought I actually meant it. You'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, I have to go, I don't write that much, calm down. But at the end of the day, I know I write good jokes and that's what I do, right?
Yeah.
But if I literally was like, no, I'm terrible at writing jokes. I mean, they're terrible. I'm an awful joke writer. You'd be like, you're just stupid right now. What are you talking about? You are not a bad joke. And that's when you tell me you're not a catch. I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
I guess I'm dumb.
No, I'm just saying you seem dumb when you tell people you're not you should be confident. That's what it's a joke. I don't think you're actually dumb, but
it was funny.
That's called a nag in the business, right? So that's if I was hitting on you, that's what I'd do. I'd compliment you underhandedly to make you.
Yeah.
That's what you're into. You're a real dumb bitch, Jen Murphy. Oh my God. Now I'm into Bowers all of a sudden. He called me a dumb bitch twice and now I'm into it.
Well, that's the trick, supposedly. I just love any sentence that starts out with, this is going to sound like an insult, but.
So, I think you can change your brain chemistry, but I think also you need to find, I think here's a shot selection. I think you like the wrong people, but I think that's because of insecurity. I think when someone likes you, you think they're dumb. There's something must be wrong with them. That's the low self-esteem part that's fucking you up. So when someone truly likes you, you're like, well, this guy's clearly a bad decision maker. He likes me. That's fucked up. Where are our lives going to be if a guy makes bad decisions like liking me? God, we're going to be homeless. That's the dumb part of your brain telling you that, and that part of your brain's wrong. When a guy likes you, you should like him more. When he doesn't like you, you should say fuck off. But the more a guy doesn't like you, the more you're fucking hoping he calls you. I've told you my butterflies theory, right? I know I've told you this a million times, but it's that we grow up thinking butterflies. Oh, I got butterflies means you like them. No, butterflies is insecurity, right? Name a time where you get butterflies before something good happens to you. No, it's like, oh my God, is that a cop? Is this boat sinking? What's that spot on my genitals? Oh my God, we're going to die. That's what butterflies are, right? Fucking, if every time somebody calls you get butterflies, that means you didn't think they were going to call. Stop dating guys you don't think are going to call you.
But what if I told you Zoran gave me butterflies?
That's what I'm saying. Zoran would give you butterflies.
Because he might kill me.
Yes. With ecstasy. He might kill you with ecstasy. I know people. I kill people. I'm not afraid.
Jennifer. Were you born crazy or did something happen to you?
So funny.
I love you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, no problem. I love you too.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we depart?
No. I just, anytime you want to have lunch, great. If you want to do a virtual Zoom lunch someday, I'm fine with that too. I don't need people to get out of their comfort zones, but I think
No, I'm cool meeting. I'm cool meeting outside.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll go to Chipotle or something this week. But yeah. Watch my show, SDSC, SDSCshow.com. It's on Tuesday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I want you to come back on it. You want to come do a set on it again?
Anytime. Saturday would be best. Or Friday, actually. Friday, I only babysit in the morning. So
okay.
All the other days, I'm usually busy. You guys do it at like 3 p.m., right?
It's 3 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and then noon on Saturday. But we actually don't have comics on Fridays. So I'll find it Tuesday or Saturday morning maybe. Or Saturday at noon.
Saturday would be best. Yeah, because otherwise, Friday and Saturday is best. But if you don't have comics Friday, then Saturday would be best.
All right. I'll find you Saturday and have you come on. So
okay.
All right.
Well, I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you. Night. Tell Chrissy I said hi.
I will.
Okay. Bye.
That was cool. So we got to start the podcast now, or what are we going to do?
I was like, oh shit, I wasn't recording that whole thing.